Hi, welcome back. So we are at the section to define what is object and what is a class. Let's discuss that from a perspective and implementation. Essentially, let's start to look at a practical example where I'm going to be able to explain exactly what do I mean with object and what do I mean with a class and their relationship. Now I'm going to take an example. Let's say we have an employee for any reason that we're working on a program that requires an employee, and there's something called payment. Let's look at the word employee. As we said in the previous videos, we know now employee might represent what's so-called an object. The next thing I decided to bring to the same scenario is related to payment. Again, a payment could be an object on its own that has its own data and method. Let's look at the word of objects. Once again, as I said, the word employee and the word payment, both of them are nouns, both of them are potential to define what object is all about. And according to what we have learned in the previous section, object is just a representative of data and behaviors. So if we take the employee first and try to look at the data or the kind of the attributes that an employee might have, obviously we could have like the name of the employee, the gender, the ID, maybe year of experience, department, salary, etc. And so many other attributes you can add much as you like. What kind of a behavior we're talking about? Don't forget, in the previous session, I think it was in session number 2 or so, I spoke about something that you must understand as a side note, that when we speak about behavior, we have behavior on data level and we have behavior on object level, if you remember that. Let me show you that exactly what do I mean here. On a data level, so data level, it means on pieces of these attributes on its own. So with the name, what kind of a behavior I can, or action I can, maybe I can create a method called create a name, insert name, delete name, etc. So I'm talking about only the name. Here, for example, I'm saying give a name, it means create a name, or give an ID, or maybe return the gender, etc. So these are a method on a data level or an attribute level. And also I can define other methods on terms of object level. So on the whole employee as all. So for example, I can pay the employee. So I'm talking about the object itself. Now, this kind of a differentiation of behaviors on terms of data and object, perhaps other material don't really pay attention to, but I just wanted to share to show you while you're writing a behavior, just consider that particular case. Now, let's get back to create this more appropriate way to create the employee as an object here. And then we have the payment as another object here. So in the case of the employee as its own data and behaviors, and in terms of the payment, also it could have its own data and behaviors. Now, here's the trick point, that not every kind of object must have its own data. In this case, for example, payment didn't have any specific data or attribute, but it has only method. In this case, we say calculate pay and pay. These are two methods associated with this particular object we created. Now let's move to the word class. What do we mean exactly with a class? So now we know an object. Let's say, what does this word class mean? Well, literally, in short, a class is just the blueprint of an object. It is the template. So basically, in other words, you are creating a template or a blueprint of the object that we're talking about. And this template or the blueprint will be used anytime you would like to create. No, we're going to use a new word we call instantiate a new object. Now, in most of the training materials, they speak about instantiating an object instead of creating an object. So in other words, you create the template or the blueprint and you start to instantiate as many objects as you like out of that. So let me just draw for you something more intuitive here and discuss all these words together: attribute, methods, and message. Let me here draw a kind of a blueprint, and let's say this will have certain attributes like attribute 1 and attribute 2, and it has certain method 1 and method 2. Now this is going to represent the template, the blueprint, or we call it the class. And this class will be actually used from now onward to instantiate as many employees as I want. And we'll call this as a class as an employee class. Now, employee class, it represents that kind of blueprint. From here, what I can do out of that class, somewhere around the script of my program or software, I can create as many employees as I want. So I can create an employee 1, employee 2, and as many employees as I want, whereby I know very well that each one of these employees has completely encapsulated its own attributes and its own also methods. And now all of them are just taking the template for that. So employee 1 has its own characteristic, attributes, whatever you call, and its own method or actions. Same for employee 2 and 3. So here is the meaning of attribute, methods, and class and objects all together. So what is this message is the first time we say? Well, sometime along the class or the software design, you need employee 1 to talk to employee 2 to send, to exchange something. This is the meaning of message that we can, with this kind of a design, completely create an oriented and module way of communication between them. This is all what you have to understand about object and class. So from now onward, I think it will be very much clear. Once we are reading the script of the problem, we do a proper analysis to know what needs to be done and then how to be done in the design. And before we jump into the programming yet, we are going to start to initiate all these objects, and then we start to create a class out of them. Now, to do that, we are going to use a unique method of drawing. And that's exactly lead us to the next section to speak about UML, or Unified Modeling Language, which is a very interesting kind of a tool that uses drawing to illustrate the drawing of the classes that we intend to create or to make as a blueprint of any object we want to instantiate later. That's exactly what we're going to do next. I will see you then.